So we're going to start with something slightly different, barbecue sauce. One of those key things that can be used in stir fries, typically barbecues. One of the things to make a really, not to say cheap, but not great cut of meat, something that's kind of finger licking good. So tomato paste, molasses, if you don't have molasses, dark sugar, Worcester sauce, liquid smoke. I use sesame oil, spices, so paprika, garlic, black pepper, onions, salt, and anything else that kind of catches your mind or your fancy. Apple cider vinegar. It has to be apple or cider vinegar because it basically lends itself and carries a lot of the flavors, and honey. Um, so you can use golden syrup or any other things. You've got to work with what you've got in the cupboard. But once you've got that down, it's pretty good sauce to have as a backup. Another simple thing: corn flour. Never add it to anything warm; it clumps and is. So always add it to if you're adding it to a soup that you've already got going on and you want to thicken it up. Take a glass, cold water, mix it with cold water, and then pour that glass into the soup. Same with gravy. If you've got leftover fat and things that you want to use as a base for gravy, I use soy sauce as a browning agent, and you can do lots of things with that. But flour. So you have to. I don't use a lot of butter because it doesn't agree with my stomach. But you can take oil. So if it's something that needs the butter content, you use an olive oil. Obviously not the healthiest, but you're not really cooking or using it with it. So say with pancakes, I add a teaspoon of olive oil to the pancakes rather than butter. And your flour, if you're wanting to make it a thickening or anything else, I use cold pressed rapeseed oil or sunflower or vegetable oil, any oil, into the pan, flour. I cook it so it starts to bubble, and then I add the other things. So if I'm wanting to add it, any of those sort of sauces, it's a really good base sauce. So you can add, you can leave it as is, just add milk as a thickening agent or as the degradation agent. But you can also take it and add cheese and all those other things that you would expect to find. Don't know what happened there. That was a little bit of a glitch. But yes, so those are all the things that I would recommend remembering in the kitchen. I always like to use spices, but if you're using any form of spice, you need oil to activate the flavors and allow them to permeate throughout the dish. Lemon juice and lemon. Squeeze and drop half a lemon into a spicy curry, reduces the flavor, which is quite a handy tip. Just trying to think of any other kind of things. Dairy free, everything free kind of biscuits. So I take basically that much flour, take that much, basically two open fists of flour, one open fist of sugar. This is obviously volumes, and I'm trying to, and then a closed fist of oil, and then add milk or oat milk or whatever to get it to the thickness of basically a strong dough, and then you leave that in the fridge to sort of thicken up a little bit, make it easier to roll, and then roll that out on flour. If you want them slightly puffy, add a little bit of baking powder. If not, don't bother. I don't. I basically do that, and it works out quite a nice kind of shortbread style biscuit. If I'm doing a cake, it's 8 to 4, so 8 cups of flour or 8 measures or whatever. So if I measure everything to the amount of flour that I put in first, so a cake mix will be pour in the flour first. Half of that I then add again as sugar, and then basically 2/3 of the sugar I add as oil, and then I add in milk and all the flavorings and everything else after that. With the cakes, because and 5 eggs. I typically use 5 eggs. Depending on if I'm making a small cake, it'll be 3 eggs, 4 eggs, and the largest that I can go with this kind of cake is five eggs, because after that it's just too much to manage, and usually would sink in the middle. That cake makes a really nice light puffy sponge. If I'm using self-raising flour, I add in a little bit of extra baking powder because I'm using milk. Typically, that recipe uses yogurt. Can't really think of much else as far as food ideas go, but I hadn't really thought of doing a foodie one